Greetings all, welcome to our tutorial here on integrating data between Microsoft Office applications. Many people know how to use Microsoft Office, but not many people are actually cognizant of the fact that they can minimize typing time by actually importing data directly into a database within Microsoft Access. So it is important to note that you can actually increase your own efficiencies by integrating documents. That way you're not repeating the same type of information across Microsoft Office applications by entering that type of information yourself. So if you are creating a project, for example, with maybe people within that project or products like we've done before in previous tutorials, then you don't have to go about typing that information several times. You can do it within one application and then integrate it into other applications. So in this tutorial I'm going to show you how you go about doing that, and accordingly I have prepared an Excel document here for you that highlights an example of data that we might use. In this case, I'm actually planning trips to the islands, and I have invited a number of people to actually partake in these activities. So here is my trip to the islands table that I would also like to include in Microsoft Access. Rather than going to Microsoft Access and retyping all of this information, I'm simply going to tell Access to grab the information directly from Microsoft Excel and make my life that much easier. Now, it is important to understand that Microsoft Access is looking at the labels and the values. Right? It's important to note that Microsoft Access deals with the storing and organizing of data. So any aesthetic type of information, any illustration or pictures here will be relevant to the database. So the first step is to actually get rid of this labels, these labels that I have at the top. And I'm going to do that by actually clicking on the row 1 here. I'm not clicking on trips directly, I'm clicking on row 1 to highlight all of row 1 and dragging to row 2 to delete, to actually select both rows. And from here, if I should right click on my row 1 or 2, I'll get a delete option, and I'm going to choose that to delete both rows. Now, if you need practice with Microsoft Excel, please be sure to see one of our previous tutorials on Microsoft Excel. Now, since I've done this, I'm actually going to save the document. Let me go to File and Save As, so that I could actually save a second document, leaving the original intact. So I'm going to say int Excel2, for example, and save. And I now have a second document with only the labels and values within that document. From here, I can then choose to open an Access document. I'm going to say a blank database for now. Of course, you want to be saving with a relevant name. But for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm just going to hit create, and in the interest of time, I'm going to maximize, and from here we could go to the external data tab, where you will find an important link group and an export group. Now, we're not exporting from Microsoft Access, we're actually importing from Excel. So our options within the import and link group is pertinent to this endeavor. So let me choose Excel, since the document is in an Excel format, and the file name is most relevant. That is going to allow me to browse for that Excel document. I have mine stored in a cloud storage location, Google Drive to be exact, and an integration folder. Here is my int Excel2 that I had saved. That's the one I want. That does not include any type of formatting. I'm going to hit open. The import the source data into a new table is fine. I could choose to add it to another table that was already there, but since this is a new document, let us simply work with the first option. So the information within Microsoft Excel will then be included into a new table within the database. The first row that I had within Excel here will now be the column headings within Microsoft Access. So it's important to leave this checked. I'm going to hit next and notice that the trip, cost, and people are all included here. I'm going to hit next, and from here I have the affordance of actually changing the field name. So for example, my first field within Microsoft Excel was actually trip. I could choose to say trips, for example. Instead of trip, I could click on the cost option and change cost to maybe price. Or if the fields are okay as is, you could leave them as is. Hit next. It is probably prudent to allow Microsoft Access to choose a primary key for you, so we should leave that as is for now. I'm going to hit next, and we have the option of actually renaming that table accordingly. I think Island Tour is pertinent to what we're doing here, so I'm going to leave it as is and hit finish. Close. So we close that applet, and if you look within the object panel here, you will find your Island Tour table that was just incorporated into Microsoft Access. I'm going to double click on my Island Tour to open it, and just like that, all the information that we had within this Excel document is now included in my Access database. Okay. So we can then copy a Word table to Microsoft Access. I'm going to jump back to my integration folder here. I'm going to open a Word document that I have that also includes information in about the trip, where the trips or cruises are actually leaving from, and the actual time frame. When you've entered data into a Word table, and you want to make it part of a database, then you can copy the table from Word and paste it directly into Access. All right. The source Word table and the destination Access table are not linked, so any changes that you make to one table will not affect the other. The ways in which you would actually copy that is by right-clicking. You'd first select the table by scrolling to the top left, choose your handle here, click on that handle, and it will automatically select the table for you. From here, you could right click anywhere on the table and choose copy. So that way you've now copied this table from your Word document, and within your Microsoft Access application, you could choose the very last field that says click to add. You could right click within that field and choose the paste as fields option. It is asking me if I'm actually sure I want to paste these records. I'm going to say yes, I've made no mistakes, Microsoft Access, and from here I've actually pasted or amended this table to include additional fields. Note that there's still a click to add at the end here of this event, so it is perfectly fine if you have additional tables that you wanted to include in Microsoft Access. You could include those also. It is also prudent to go through each field and make sure the information is relevant. For example, I have a trips field here and I have a trips field here that is actually repeating itself. So I could choose to delete this field by right clicking on the field name and scrolling down to where it says delete field. It's going to ask me, are you sure? I'm going to say yes to get rid of that field accordingly. So this is how you would actually go about copying a table directly from Word into a new blank table in Microsoft Access. Okay, you can also choose to link an Access table back to Microsoft Word or even Microsoft Excel. And you do this among the three programs to further increase the efficiency and reduce the need to enter the same type of data more than once. So I'm going to show you how you can go about getting this table, or this new table rather, back to Microsoft Word and to Microsoft Excel. So the ways in which you do that is, I'm going to close this table, and my island tour table itself shows in the panel here. All my tables, or all my objects rather, will actually show up in my table. So I can right click on this island tour, and if I choose the copy option, then that is actually going to copy the table for me. And if I should go to my Excel document, let me create a new sheet, and I can choose to go to the paste option here. I could right click, and I could use the paste link option to paste the values within Microsoft Excel, or I could go to the paste option here. Here's a drop down key, and I'll get the same functionalities here. So from here, note that I've actually included the new table that was actually within Microsoft Access within Microsoft Excel. From here, I could then choose to apply some type of formatting to this table to make it more aesthetically pleasing. But I can't, if I try to delete information, for example, I can't do that because this information is actually resting in the Access database. So I can't simply take information from here. I could format the table, I could make it more pleasing to the eye, but I can't edit the data within here. The data must be edited from within the database directly. Okay, I can also right click on my table within the objects panel, and within my Word document, or a new Word document, let me hit enter. I could choose to right click, and I could choose to paste, or similarly within Excel, I could choose the clipboard group, the drop down arrow, and I could choose the paste special instead. This way I get the paste link option that allows me then to paste the document or the table within Microsoft Word accordingly. Okay, so now if I should actually change information within my database, let me take this out for example and just say NY. When I go back to Microsoft Word, it might not be reflected in the table here, but if you right click within that table and choose update field, it should update accordingly. Let me save this document and right click and choose update field, and it should update accordingly. There we are. So my update field didn't work, but now it does. It took a little while to register, but now that we have updated the field, note that all fields reflect changes within the database. Okay, so what we've actually done is to get data from Microsoft Excel, input that data into Microsoft Access, and then get data from Word, input it into Microsoft Access, and input data into Excel and Word from Microsoft Access. This is how you'd actually go about integrating all those applications. We hope you find this tutorial useful, and in upcoming tutorials we'll actually talk about how we go about integrating all applications, including Microsoft PowerPoint as well. Thank you for viewing.